Okay, so picture this. You're at the aquarium, right? And you're looking at a tank full of fish swimming in circles. And you pull out your phone, you point it at the tank, and you ask Google, like, hey, Google, why are they swimming like that?
Mm.
But here's the thing, instead of just giving you a bunch of websites, Google actually answers you. And not in like a robotic voice or anything, but like a real conversational AI-powered response.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. Like Google's reading your mind and actually trying to have a conversation with you.
Right. And it's not just a one-off thing either. We've got a couple articles here, one from Yahoo Finance and another from the Associated Press, and they're both talking about how Google's going all in on AI.
Yeah, and I think the timing of all this is really interesting too, because you've got ChatGPT making waves, you've got Perplexity gaining some traction. It's almost like Google's feeling the heat, and they're like, okay, we need to step up our game and show everyone who's still the boss of search.
And they've got the resources to do it too. I mean, we're talking about a company worth what, like $2 trillion?
Yeah, that's something like that.
Yeah.
We've got the brain power, the money, the data, it's all there.
Yeah.
So when Google makes a move like this, it's a big deal.
So let's dig into some of the specifics here. The Yahoo Finance article talks about how you can now use Google Lens to ask questions about live video. Live video. That just seems crazy to me.
I know, right? It's like something out of a science fiction movie.
It really is. So you could be like watching a cooking show and ask Google Lens, hey, how much salt did they just add? Or something like that.
Exactly. Or imagine you're watching a football game. You're like, who's that player again? Boom, Google Lens tells you right then and there.
That's insane. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's super cool, but part of me is also a little bit terrified.
I get it. It's like all of a sudden our phones are becoming way too smart.
Exactly. And speaking of things that are a little bit terrifying, remember those AI recipe fails from a while back?
Oh yeah, the ones where Google was suggesting people put glue on pizza and stuff like that.
Yeah. The AP article actually mentioned those. So, like, if Google's going to be answering our questions in real time, they kind of need to make sure they're getting things right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Accuracy is going to be huge, especially when it comes to stuff like that. You can't have Google giving out medical advice or financial advice unless it's 100% accurate.
No kidding. All right. So, to be fair to Google, though, they're not just relying on AI to answer our questions about live video. They're also using it to change how search results themselves are displayed.
Right. And this is something both articles talked about. They're moving away from just giving you a big, long list of blue links and try to make the results more visual, more organized, easier to digest.
So, less like reading a textbook and more like browsing through a magazine or something?
Exactly. Think about when you search for something like best pizza near me
Mhm.
on your phone right now. You get a bunch of websites, maybe a map. But with these updates, Google might actually show you pictures of the pizza from different restaurants' reviews. Maybe even let you order directly from the search results.
Okay, now that sounds pretty useful, especially when I'm hungry and don't feel like clicking through a million different websites.
Exactly. It's about making search more efficient, more intuitive, and ultimately more helpful for the user.
Makes sense. But let's be real for a second here. Google's a business, right? So how do they plan on making money from all of this? I mean, Yahoo Finance did touch on this a little bit.
Yeah, they mentioned that Google is going to start incorporating ads into its AI overview feature.
So basically finding new and creative ways to show us ads even within these new AI-powered search results.
Pretty much. They've got to find that balance between innovating and keeping the lights on, right?
For sure. It's a delicate dance. But hey, as long as the ads aren't too intrusive, I'm all for it if it means we get access to all this cool new tech.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe these new AI-powered features will actually lead to more relevant and less annoying ads in the long run.
One can only hope, right? It's fascinating to think about how these changes could actually impact how we use Google day to day. Like we've been talking about these AI-powered features. But how does this actually work when someone goes to search for something, on their phone?
Yeah, that's a great point because right now we're used to getting that list of links. But with these AI updates, Google's really trying to deliver the answer itself, or at least like a much more curated set of results, especially on mobile.
So less about digging through websites yourself and more about Google doing the heavy lifting.
Exactly. Like think of it as like having a personal research assistant in your pocket.
Okay, so we've got Google trying to make their search results smarter, more personalized, and they're obviously trying to stay ahead of companies like ChatGPT and Perplexity. But what does this all say about the future of search? Not just for Google, but like for the entire internet.
Well, I think we're potentially looking at a fundamental shift in how we access and consume information. I mean, think about it. For decades, search engines have essentially been digital librarians, right? They point us to the right bookshelves. but we still have to find the specific book or web page ourselves.
So are you saying that AI could turn search engines into something more like, those friends we all have who seem to know everything? You ask them a question and boom, they've got the answer.
That's a great analogy. And yes, I think that's very much where this is headed. AI has the potential to turn search engines into actual knowledge providers.
That's both exciting and a little scary, don't you think?
It definitely comes with its own set of challenges.
Like what kind of downsides do you see with this whole AI-powered search thing?
Well, one concern is that it could lead to what we call information silos or echo chambers,
Meaning,
meaning if algorithms become too good at predicting what we want to see, they might filter out diverse viewpoints or challenging information.
so instead of opening our minds, we might just end up stuck in our own little bubbles, only seeing information that confirms what we already believe.
Exactly. And that's why it's super important for users to be aware of these potential pitfalls.
So it's not just about embracing the technology, but also about being informed and critical users.
Absolutely. We can't just passively accept whatever information is presented to us.
We need to engage with it thoughtfully, question things, do our own research.
I couldn't agree more.
This has definitely given me a lot to think about. But let's bring it back to Google for a second. They're making a big bet on AI, but they're not the only ones, right?
Oh, absolutely not. There are tons of other companies working on AI-powered search.
Yeah. Hi.
Well, you've got Microsoft, who are heavily invested in Bing, and they're really focusing on a more visual approach using AI to analyze images and videos.
Interesting. So they're trying to appeal to the more visual learners out there,
Exactly. And then you have companies like DuckDuckGo who are all about privacy.
which is a huge concern these days with all the data tracking and everything.
Right. And they're betting that privacy is going to be a major selling point for a lot of users.
It's like the Wild West out there with everyone trying to figure out the future of search.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
So we've talked a lot about the potential downsides of all this, but let's be optimistic for a minute. What are some of the good things that could come from these advancements in AI-powered search?
Well, for starters, I think it has the potential to make search much more efficient and intuitive.
Right. Like imagine a search engine that actually understands what you're looking for, even if you don't use the perfect keywords. Yeah.
Exactly. Or one that can anticipate your needs and proactively surface information that might be relevant to you.
That would be amazing. Like if my search engine could remind me to buy milk before I even realized I was out.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Or if it could suggest a new restaurant based on your past searches and your location.
That's the dream, right?
Yeah,
But seriously, I do think there's a lot of potential here for AI to make our lives easier and more connected.
I agree. And not just in terms of search either. Think about all the other ways AI could be used to improve our digital experiences.
Right. Like customer service, education, entertainment, the possibilities are pretty much endless.
Exactly. And I think we're only just scratching the surface of what's possible.
It's an exciting time to be alive, that's for sure.
I think so too. A little bit overwhelming at times, but mostly exciting.
Well said. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap things up. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the nitty-gritty of Google's latest AI updates to the broader implications for the future of search.
It's been a fascinating conversation, and I always appreciate the opportunity to chat about this stuff.
Me too. And as always, a huge thank you to our listeners for tuning in to The Deep Dive. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into the world of tech. Until then, stay curious.